Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Real Estate Pros Podcast. I'm Mike Stansbury, and my special guest today is Bri Newkirk. Bri, how are you this morning?
I am well, thank you.
It's not even this morning, it's this afternoon, and my bad on that.
Irrelevant.
But it's irrelevant. People are going to watch this when they watch it. It could be 2 in the morning. Got to do this real quick. At Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their businesses to allow them to build the businesses they've always wanted and allow them to live the lives they've always dreamed of. Bri, I always love this question for my real estate investor friends. Tell me about the origin story. When did you get on the yellow brick road? What were you and maybe your family doing before you got into real estate? Tell me about that.
Okay, so the genesis of my real estate story is, I got into lending in '08 and I was 24 and I had just graduated college with my little business degree and I was ready to take over the world. And then in '08, the world started melting down. And so, kind of all my hopes and dreams of riding off into the sunset got just obliterated with reality. But I tell people it is the best thing that ever happened to me because I was humble to my core. And it taught me principles that I don't think I could have otherwise learned if I hadn't gone through that hard time. And so, I've been in lending for 14 years. I worked at the same company for 14 years. I've been in lending for 17. But from '08 to 2011, I got to see a bunch of people gobble up the market, which is, a tragedy. So there's a sad side to this as people are losing their homes. But I got to see people who were positioned to buy real estate just jump on that opportunity. And now here they are later with those houses paid off. And so that really kind of enlightened me for people are doing things differently. And so that's how I started to get an idea for investing. And then we got our first house in 2010. And so does that answer your question?
Yes. So tell me about the first deal, because I always like the origin, or you said the genesis of what was that first deal like, and do you still have it to this day?
So it was much like most people, where you turn your first home into your primary residence into an investment home. The easiest way to get going is just turn your primary home into an investment, because you don't have to come out of pocket for that. Really, it's just, okay, how do you get into your next home out of that? So that's what we did. We turned our primary into an investment home. We got into our next home. We did the same thing after that. And then from our third home, we had so much equity from the first home that we pulled money out of that to then really start growing. So that's how we started to scale.
That's a beautiful thing. And that's a good nugget for our folks out there if they're struggling. How do I get started? Well, look at where you're at right now, especially if you own that home. Don't think of it as something that you have to sell right away. If you need to move, think of it as an asset. So that's good. That's what we did. That was our first. Okay. That was the first time that we did it. We bought it wrong.
Hey, it's a bumpy road, okay? This doesn't come without a few bruises.
It did. It took us about 4 or 5 years for the equity to come back, but it did. Eventually it did over time. And so, and then One of the things you said is 2008 and being in lending, it humbled you to the core. And sometimes that's what it takes for every good real estate investor has had a bottom.
Hmm.
It's never been just an ascendancy. But since 2010, since doing those deals where you bought as a primary and then turned it into a rental or another asset, what has life been like for you since 2010? What's between 2010 and 2024, 2025? Tell me about that road.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Okay, in real estate specific, it was kind of like all up from there, 2011, because rates were down, home prices hadn't, skyrocketed, and so we picked up triplexes, duplexes. We are in a couple different markets, so we have homes in Washington State, which was our home state, and then I read a book about out-of-state investing, and it was talking about, what is your competitive advantage in other states. And for me, my extended family lives in upstate New York. And so my competitive advantage is I know that market without living there. And then I have people there who are boots on the ground and eyes for me. And so we have duplexes and triplexes in upstate New York where my family lives. And that has been incredible. And then today, now we're in a different market. We acquired all those, pre-2022 before rates went up. We are doing loan assumptions now for the homes that we buy because we only long-term invest. We don't have any short-term rentals we like to call ourselves a lazy landlord. I have a full-time job already. I don't want to do short-term rentals. And so we just do long-term, and it's hard to get a long-term to cash flow at rates today. And so we do loan assumptions. So our last two homes that we purchased were loan assumptions, and one's a 3% interest rate and one is a 2.65% interest rate. And we've gotten those in the last 6 months.
Okay, so this is very targeted. So you're looking for these targeted sellers. And one of the things that we talked about on the pre-show, because we have to talk about some of these things before the pre-show, is tell me how you came about with you and your husband, and how did you come up with this idea of hey, I think some of these houses we could assume some of their loan, or we could figure out a way to make the financing work. Let's figure this out and go after this market. When did that happen, and kind of what are the action steps have you taken to get these deals?
Yeah. So the how, I think again comes back to '08, where it's like you have to be scrappy to survive. And so I think I reached into my scrappy bag of tricks and was like, how do I find a way to get homes? And at first it started with my clients. I was like, man, I remember at the beginning of 2022, I had 6 families pre-approved and looking, and all 6 fell out because rates went from 4s to 5s to 6s, boom, 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 boom. And they all fell out. And I was like, oh my God, what is about to happen? And so that's when I started looking into, okay, well, can my clients take over other people's loans? And I just started doing some research. And then that led me down to, well, back in the day, you could only assume as a primary. But VA changed their regulations in the last year or so that you can take it as an investment. And so once they changed that, I was like, hot dang, we are in it now. And so we started finding these homes we use PropStream. You can search by, mortgage type. I'm sure there's other softwares, but that's the one we're familiar with. So we use PropStream to search for VA mortgages. We search on market because, they're already wanting to sell, but you could search off market and, reach out but the 2 that we got have been on market.
Okay, so let's just take one of them. And so they were on market. Where were they? What is so you're keeping this, you already identified yourself, Bri, as a lazy landlord.
Yeah.
Why did these particular properties stick out as kind of a lazy landlord deal that would hit your buy box? Yeah, just go over the details on that. Love to kind of chop through those.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
And when I say lazy landlord, I don't mean slumlord. So
We
very,
would never assume that.
we take care of them, but when we take over a property, I want to fix it up all the way. Like we change out carpets, everything, because I want to set it and forget it. And so I'm looking for a home that is easy to rent out. It's in a desirable area, and it's not going to require a bunch of maintenance calls. And so we fix them up, get them ready, place someone in there who wants to stay. And then, maybe I get the occasional call, but again, I have a full-time job. I have kids, my head's on fire. And so we identified this one. It's in Columbia, Tennessee, which is about 30 minutes south of us. And it was amazing. And it's right next to the freeway. Columbia is kind of an up and coming area. So it's just south, if you're familiar with Tennessee, it's south of Williamson County. And so it's a little cheaper because it's in Maury County. It's a little cheaper, but it butts up right to Williamson County. So you can kind of, you get the crossover. And so people want to be nearer, those more
Right.
expensive counties. And it's right next to a freeway. So, it's people are
Easy
looking for it when
access.
they have
Yeah.
to commute. So those are things that we look for. And so this one, it wasn't even advertised as Assumable. So I called the listing agent and I said, hey, I don't know if you know, but your sellers, they have an Assumable loan. And this home had been on market for a while. They were not getting full price offers. And I said, if your seller is willing to let us assume their loan, I'll give you a full price offer. It was $380. The seller owed $320. And so I told the listing agent, I'll give you the $380. You can get your full commission. We're not bringing an agent, only if you let us assume the loan though. And so I gave her a bunch of information on how that would work. She talked to her seller. It turns out that it was a couple that both have their VA eligibility. And so they could leave the one tied up with the home and then take the other one if they wanted to do another VA loan. So it worked out great.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question. I think you kind of answered it. Is like if the VA loan is assumable, right? And let's say that veteran sells you the house, can they do another VA loan?
Okay, so there's nuances because for VA loans, they have a certain amount of entitlement. And so sometimes that can be all tied up in one home, but sometimes depending on how much that first home was, when they bought it, they may be able to use the rest of that entitlement for a second home. And then maybe they may have to put a little bit of a down payment, but still with my scenario, the seller got $60,000,
right?
Because we paid that equity gap. And it's very likely that that would be enough if they wanted to use their VA loan again to pay the rest of that entitlement to do the VA loan again. And the question would be, well, why wouldn't they just go do a conventional loan? If they've got $60,000, why wouldn't they go do a conventional loan, even if they had 20% down? My simple answer to that would be VA loans just get better interest rates.
They do.
Conventional loans. And so it's still worth it because the interest rate's going to be so much better.
Okay, so this is really cool. So you guys started zero in on this, and you've done two, but and basically what you did is you took the information that's online, this house is for sale, and you cross-referenced it with, I think, PropStream to know, oh, that's a VA loan. And so you used, I guess, those skills to do that. And now, are you actively are you just doing that exact same thing? As you find something like that, you're just giving them a call and see it. Would you be open to it?
Yes. And it is so interesting. And it really depends on the openness of the listing agent.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Right. Are they willing to listen? Are they curious?
Are they curious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have a superpower, right? And that superpower is, hey, I've done this before now, and now you're not talking in theory. Hey, I just did this in Columbia, Tennessee. Let me kind of share with you how it worked and how it could benefit your seller. Because the benefit to the seller is, well, is there any recourse on them if, let's say, Bri Newkirk, when I say lazy landlord, don't mean slumlord, and also don't mean that, hey, you know what, if things don't go well, I'll just let this thing go south. You assume that loan, you assume 100% responsibility for it, and so there's no recourse for the seller, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Let's say I did just let my life go and I let the home foreclose, that entitlement would show a foreclosure on it. So that is something to consider, but I can't assume that loan unless I credit qualify anyways. So I have to go through the credit qualifications just like a normal person would. And in fact, it's a little more strict because they're what are called manual underwrites. And they're more strict than the VA automatic approval, and now we're getting into the weeds, but nevertheless, they're more strict. And so, it would still show up as a foreclosure on my credit. And so, I guess I would say to a seller, if they were really worried, well, ask the buyer to show them your credit report.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. Like, do I have, if my credit score is an 800 right now, do you think the chances of me letting this home go into foreclosure are high? Probably not.
Right. So that's good, and that really is a really good selling point to the whole offer that you're making. So let me ask you this: so are you targeting now your rentals to be close by in Tennessee? Are you still going to New York and Washington? What does that look like?
The strategy for that is we do want to be close by, but also we just want to invest in landlord-friendly states. We've been through the mud, man, and so we've had evictions take a year to get someone out, and it's tough. And regardless of people's politics, I still have to come out of pocket for a year to pay that mortgage. And so we only invest in red states and landlord-friendly states just because I can't take the risk of having a year-long eviction.
I have a friend, in fact, he was on this podcast a couple days ago, and he lives in Washington.
Yeah.
He's a lender in Washington, and he got a great deal in this small town, and it's a fourplex. But they just passed a law that you can only, I think it's 7.5%. There's a increased rent. And he goes, now I'm sad that I got this deal. and so, and he feels like it's going to go through. So you've made the transition of just, hey, we're going to be in red states because they are friendly to landlords, which it is. All my stuff is in Tennessee, Mississippi, in Arkansas. So yeah, I understand that completely.
And I was going to say the funny thing about that is so like for the Washington thing, because we still have a Washington home, we just had a lease that we're renewing, and my husband and I were like, well, should we do 7.5%? Because we actually only want to do 5%.
Right.
But I'm like, well, what if our insurance jumps next year and it jumps way up? So should I forward project and do the full max? And so I'm like, this is actually worse for my tenants because now I'm hedging because I can only do 7 per year. And what if I get a big jump in 1 year? So it's actually worse for my tenants because I'm increasing it more than I normally would.
The government does such a great job of understanding unintended consequences.
Yes.
So it's so wonderful that they are able to see through these things and really work through all the ratios. But that's exactly one of his types. Like, I'm going to have to go up as much as I can every year, just
Just
because
hedging in case something happens.
Yeah, because we know things go up,
Hmm.
right? We know that the cost uh, of things just go. Insurance has gone up, and it's hard. So the other thing is that it's great that you got this interest rate, because interest rates right now, if you were to get that same 380 at current interest rates, I'm sure it doesn't cash flow.
Oh Lord, that payment would have been double, literally double.
Right. And you're not in this you're in this obviously for appreciation.
Mhm.
No, every real estate investor loves that, and depreciation on your taxes. But most importantly, it's got a cash flow. It's got to give us a little bit of cash flow. Got a cash
Yeah,
flow.
and even if it's like, even if it's $100, that's fine. Even if it's $50, it's got a cash flow in my mind after I have put away for capital expenditures, vacancies, maintenance. It's got a cash flow after that. And that's impossible to do right now in this kind of a market.
Right. And so, but it doesn't have to be that way if you can do this and assume loans. All right, so awesome. So do you have anything in the pipeline? Any deals that you're working on, or are you just right now we're prospecting, trying to get more?
We're just prospecting. We have these two fully equipped. They're all done. We did a bunch of work on them, and our tenant in our Columbia house is moving in June 1st. The one in Clarksville moved in December. There was one
Okay.
in the Columbia one that we needed.
How far do you live away from Clarksville?
Oh, a couple hours.
Yeah, Clarksville's a great market.
Oh, yeah, because it's by base.
Yeah, it's by base. It's really a neat place. And they got Austin P University there. So I love that you're investing in there. I don't know much about Columbia. I am taking you at your word, but I know Clarksville is rock solid. Okay. And then and so what else besides real estate? What does your family like to do? Why did you? Let me ask you this: as much as you want to share, where did you move to Tennessee? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we moved from our hometown, and honestly, just COVID was a hard time for our family. And I know this is a trigger subject for some people, but the West Coast shut down for 2 years, and that was really hard on our kids. I mean, we homeschool now. We didn't start homeschooling. We started homeschooling because of COVID, and then we ended up falling in love with it. And now we still do, but our friends were moving to Tennessee, or a couple of our best friends were moving to Tennessee, and they were like, just come check it out with us. And we did. And we're like, this is paradise. And so, we just upped and moved our family. But I still
That's
love
awesome.
Washington. Like, we have tons of family, tons of friends there. This is just a really great place to raise kids. It feels like the way I grew up.
Yeah. And so, did you grow up? You grew up in Washington or upstate New York? Okay,
Washington.
so in Washington, and yes, I would describe Tennessee as like that. I live in Memphis on the west side, middle and eastern. I'll be honest with you, it's way better than West Tennessee. If you haven't come over here, just you don't have to. I'll just take my word for it. We'd much rather be in Middle Tennessee, but we're here because we got a lot of family here, and you got to be around family
For
according
sure.
to yeah. So it's good. And so, how old are your kids? And then, what does the Newkirk family like to do when they're not doing loans and assuming deals and all the other stuff?
Well, I have two boys, 10 and 14. Could be more different, just keeping my life interesting. If I'm not writing loans, I'm probably at a ball field or in a sports court or in a jujitsu studio or something, not for me though. I'm not doing jujitsu, but for my kids. And then for me, I love all things food. I could talk about food all day. I'm thinking about my next meal as I'm eating my current meal. My husband was like, you are a food addict. Like, I just love it. I love all things food. It's very communal to me. And then we love to lift weights. So my husband and I, we have a home gym in our garage that we built during COVID because the
Right?
West Coast was shut down. And that is kind of like our mini, peaceful sanctuary.
Therapy session.
Yes, yeah.
They throw weight around, throw the
Throw weight
kettlebells around.
around.
Right.
And then
Is it CrossFit-ish or is it more
not
bodybuilding or more?
anymore.
Yeah.
I'm in my 40s now. And
Injuries.
injuries. And so we used to do CrossFit, him more than me. I was like a social CrossFitter. He's like a typical athlete and he's very good. But now I'm worried about like blowing my Achilles. And so I like to take long walks and lift weights, in a safe way.
There you go.
What about
So,
yourself?
though it's funny, it's the same with us. My wife has a bruise on her top of her foot, and it's very frustrating. It's because she was doing too much CrossFit-ish type stuff, And so now we love to throw weights around, but we do it in a very slow way, almost like we're
I'm like, if something starts to hurt, stop.
yeah. It's not a 30-minute workout; it's a 90-minute workout with a lot of breaks,
I know. I
a
told
lot of
my
walking.
husband I had to work out the other day, and I was like, it takes me 20 minutes to warm up.
Exactly, and that's super fun. I'm good with that.
Yes.
So, all right. So, what genre of food do you stay on? I mean, because here's what I know about foodies is, are you eclectic or do you like, this is the lane that I stay
No,
in?
I have no lane. I have no boundaries. No boundaries. And actually, so my husband just bought me a like supercharged espresso machine for Mother's Day. That's how I put myself through college, was slinging espresso. And I have this like mega fancy setup now. And this whole weekend I've been delivering coffees to ladies in my neighborhood. And he was like, "Oh my Lord, now this is a thing." And I am having a ball. I'm having the time of my life meeting ladies in my neighborhood over espresso.
Okay, so all right, so we're doing the espresso thing, and so is this so uh, so this is taking you back to your roots,
Yes,
right? Of
yes,
doing that.
yes.
Okay, so what else? What is the craziest genre of food besides coffee, right? That you kind of explore in?
Know that there is a crazy, I mean, the nice thing about being from the West Coast is it's such a melting pot
Yes, yeah.
of people and food. And so I think I've just always been exposed to all kinds of food. And so that's why I used to say there's no boundary. So it's like, there's Indian food, Korean food, Japanese, Brazil, like everything you can think of, because Filipino, like, because I've always lived in a melting pot.
And yes, out in the West Coast, I'm always amazed. It's kind of like when you're at a zoo and you see things for the first time. I'm always amazed at the different types of food out here because in Memphis all we really have is barbecue and
Yes,
steak.
this is a problem though with Tennessee. This is the only
It's
strike on Tennessee's record.
it's all bad good food. It's
Oh,
all
Lord.
bad good food. And whenever we go on vacation, we see all these cool little places. Like I didn't know what a poke bowl was. Now they're kind of fashionable.
Yeah.
But 7 years ago, I was in Utah at Salt Lake City. I'm in the mall. I'm like, oh, that's some fresh good food. I need to go over there and check that out. And it was wonderful. And it was a poke bowl. But then there was like 8 other things that I've never heard of that I tried, and I was like, this is amazing. But we're kind of stuck here.
We're landlocked.
We're landlocked. We don't have a lot of yeah. You don't go out. You're not going to get great seafood here. There's a couple places that are awesome, but it's just not as the depth of it is not as it is in the West Coast. Well, that's cool. So I got to ask you this though. This is the hard. I cook a lot in my house,
Okay.
but I'm more of a meat potatoes guy. It's steak and potatoes and vegetables. I don't have too much variety. I do some of that, but with the kids, the boys, every time you eat, do you make something? Do they eat it or do they give you
No,
the business?
no. And this, I'm like, you have no idea the food you have at your fingertips. And I think, again, well, this is just par for the course, because if I was a terrible cook, they'd probably have a very extensive palate and want all the things. And, it's just what keeps life exciting. They're like,
Yes,
please give me chicken nuggets.
yes. Give me chicken nuggets with Chick-fil-A sauce, and I'll be content. So you're not supposed to have favorite kids. So
No. Well,
you're
and
not
I
supposed to
can't
have
because they're too different anyways. Like
right. They're too different.
they're just
W-
too different.
When you have four, it's kind of easy.
Right. Like I know who my favorite is.
Well, the one that we like the most
Mhm.
doesn't like Mexican food. So,
Well,
or any kind of southern or like South American food or Chilean or anything like that. So, whenever we want to go to and this is how great a kid he is. We'll go to a Mexican food and he'll go, all right, and he won't order anything, won't eat anything, but he'll just sit there and he'll be happy for everybody. He won't be sulking, which is great. So it makes us feel bad
yeah, because
that he doesn't that he's not like he's not giving us the business.
yeah.
Um,
Because if we
like
gave you the business and was like, I don't like this, well, then you could be like, well, you need to be more grateful and we're out to eat. And you could give him all the like guilt trips. But no, he took
didn't
that
work.
away from you.
Yeah, he took it away. He took out, yeah, and I don't know where he gets it because I'd have acted like the
The
opposite.
tortilla chips? Will you eat some chips?
He'll eat. So let me just. He'll eat cheese dip. He will eat cheese dip. So we'll get the big queso and
Yeah.
and he'll eat that. And I think he does eat salsa, but he's not a big burrito guy. He's like, yeah, hamburguesa give me one of those, I guess. And so, it is what it is.
You can't have it all though, right? If he's a good kid and this is his thing, you can't have it all.
You can't have it all. No, you can't. Um, well, so Bri, so you're moved to Tennessee, you homeschool your kids, and you guys like to cook a lot, and then you guys again I guess for fun you work out. So
Fun
pretty
for
awesome.
I know, right? Well, we don't have time for other fun because we're sports people. I'm a taxi cab. My husband and I, we divide and conquer.
Hmm.
But honestly, like we just like being together. We like taking walks. So, usually our neighborhood has a bunch of hills, and so we'll usually take an hour-long walk sometime during the day. And I mean, we're really excited. We like to listen to podcasts. I don't know what kind of podcasts you like to listen to. We're big into like Dr. Huberman and things like that.
Oh yeah, Huberman's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what other podcasts? This is a good question, and we'll kind of wrap it up here. But give me a podcast, and maybe give me always like to ask real estate investors and people who are doing this as a business, and you're also brokering as well. But what's the book or maybe a mentor that has been most impactful to you in the last 2 or 3 years? So podcast, book, or mentor, you can pick one or all three.
So, I think like most people, we got started on Bigger Pockets, but I haven't listened to Bigger Pockets.
Pockets.
I think
You got it.
a tongue twister. I haven't listened to that in the last year or so. But it's how I got started. And so I couldn't tell you like today is it super relevant, but that's how we got started. We listened to the Out of State Investing book by David Green. And I think that probably still is pretty relevant because there was a lot of good nuggets on there. And then podcasts, so many of the podcasts I listen to right now are more on the lending side of things and then probably more personal. I'm not listening to a lot of investing because most of my investing stuff has honestly been through meetup groups. So if I could tell anybody anything, go to local meetup groups and start meeting people. Just put
Right.
yourself out there. Everything in my life, real estate, be it on my lending side, be it on the investment side, has usually come to me through some kind of a relationship. Like, go make relationships. And it's awkward and it sucks. And I tell people, I'm a recovering pastor's wife. So I always am used to talking to people and asking questions. And so I always have like 15 questions locked and loaded to get a conversation started. So I tell people, think about questions you can ask people that you meet so the conversation doesn't stall.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's a beautiful way to kind of close this in. That's a good nugget for people. People, you got to go network because your network is your net worth, I think is what
Yeah,
they
and
say.
it's so cheesy and it's so true.
It is. Well, Bri, where could people find you, especially if they're in Tennessee and say, I may need a loan. I need to be able to refinance at some point in time, or I may need it for a new purchase. Where can they find you on all the socials?
So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube. I work for the Lending Collective out of Tennessee, and so you can find me on all those places.
Awesome. Well, Bri, thank you for being part of the Real Estate Pros podcast, folks. Her information is down below in the show notes, so if you want to get in touch with her, please do that. Either way, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.